You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
In Los Angeles. Here's Steve DeSager.
Sunday night in the snow, the Buffalo Bills won their 7th straight game, 35-10 over San Francisco. 49ers star running back Christian McCaffrey limped off in the first half with a PCL ligament knee injury. It could be season-ending. Philadelphia won its 8th straight game, 24-19 at Baltimore. Tampa Bay in overtime was a winner at Carolina, 26-23. And the Rams, down at halftime 6-0, wound up winning at New Orleans 21-14. Among the earlier games, Pittsburgh was a 44-38 winner at Cincinnati. Russell Wilson, 414 yards passing and 3 scores. In the NBA, Cleveland ended Boston's 7-game winning streak, 115-111. Memphis won its 6th in a row. Orlando won its 6th straight. Houston beat Oklahoma City 119-116. The late game to the Clippers, edging Denver 126-122. James Harden, 39 points.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pick it, and I running back coach didn't take the test. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. Today's playbook is a Manic Monday. We have Kennington Smith III joining us to talk about the Iron Bowl, the good, the bad, the ugly, the fights, play, and players of the game, college football playoff predictions, early grade on Bama hoops, and more. What's considered playoff worthy? The NFL's number 1 seed in 2023 was the Chiefs at 11-6 with a 64.7 win percentage, and the number 12 seed in the college football playoff at 9-3 is 75% percentage. Here we go.
All right. Good morning. We're going to get right into the conversation, but before we do that, I want to remind you once again that this is a day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Got a lot of great topics to get to, X, and I think you pretty much hit them all. Of course, there was quite a few rivalry games, and I think the rivalry games, with the exception of Alabama, pretty much the entire game, in Ole Miss, once they got settled in, Alabama was pretty much the only one in a rivalry game that was never in doubt, never tested really at all at any point. Ole Miss dominated the majority of the game, but Mississippi State did have a lead at one point. Just an interesting take on rivalry weekend, may show just where college football is, and that the gap between the best and the worst really isn't that big anymore. I think the ceiling of the number 1 team and the top teams is lower than it's been in a while. And I think the floor of the worst teams are better than what they've been in a while. So, I take that back. Tennessee for a while was, when I turned the TV on with Tennessee, Vandy did have them, but then they just pulled away at the end. There's too much talent. And Nico had his big game. So lots to talk about this week, and we'll talk about it all. SEC championship game without Alabama, featuring Texas and Georgia. And I'm going to go ahead and say it early and often this week. I'm a dog this week. Digger maybe listened to my show. Someone said, "Why are you so pro Georgia versus Texas?" I said, because if Texas win, I'm gonna have to apologize to Digger, who called the show earlier this year and talked about Texas. So I'm gonna have to eat some crow if Texas wins the SEC in year one. Despite the record they've had, the schedule they've had, they've done what they were supposed to do against everybody except for Georgia. And can they redeem that loss in the SEC championship game? So even though Texas is sort of like the place where Tom Brady hailed for me, Ax, in this one scenario, I admit that I don't like Texas. I recognize I don't like Texas, and I'm hoping Texas doesn't win. But if they do, I will give them their due props. Back to you.
And Mo gets a ring.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that too. Baby sis gets a ring.
Maybe that's the biggest reason. But yeah. And for those who don't know who Mo is my daughter. So she'll get an SEC championship ring should Georgia win.
Right. So getting into the game, 28-14. It's a weird conundrum because you look at that and you go, it could have been 42-14 Bama, or it could have been 28-28 Auburn, Bama in a potential overtime game. 4 turnovers for Bama. Some of them you just kind of look at and you go, man, if Ryan Williams makes the catch, there's no interception. If a fluke elbow, arm in the right place as a guy's coming down to the ground, that's probably another touchdown. You look at the blind side absolutely getting crushed, missed block by Proctor. So many things could have given Alabama another, 14 to 21 points, and then you turn around and you look at, thank God our defense played their butts off because it could have been closer than what it was when you look at the course of this game. Overall, great game by Bama, got the win, did what we had to do to potentially still be in the playoff conversation. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think that this game could have been blown out much worse than what it was, or it could have been closer. But the fact that we had 4 turnovers and the game really wasn't that close shows you the dominant team, won. The better team won that ball game. We played pretty bad. And we still felt like we had the game in control, unless you listen to Boog and Oslovsky, I think is how you say
Orlovsky.
Yeah, and that crew, boy, they were sunshine pumping South Carolina from the beginning to try to keep them out. And talking about, man, if I'm Auburn, they've dominated this game from start to finish, and they had to be really disappointed. And I'm like, dominated. It was like they had some good offensive possessions, but Alabama also was moving the ball. It wasn't like the week before where one side was moving the ball up and down the field and not scoring. Like Oklahoma should have been up, probably 21 or 24 to nothing at halftime. In reality, they got inside, but Alabama's offense was going to score points and could have got more than 28 and could have got more than the 42 they got. I don't think we went back deep again after Ryan's drop.
We didn't.
that was probably the best pass. Jalen, man, that thing was beautiful. Is the freshman hitting the freshman wall or putting too much pressure on himself, or what's going on with Ryan Williams?
I think it's a little bit of a freshman wall, and I text you Saturday. I was like, man, I think that's the best throw Jalen's ever had. I mean, it was on the money, in stride, dropped it in the basket, right through Ryan's arms.
He has,
but
the
I also
most.
said,
Go ahead.
But I remember I also said it's one of those situations where I think he has hit a little bit of a wall, and then every opportunity for a play to break through that wall, it feels like it gets called back. The two plays against Oklahoma last week, the week before come to mind, then boom, the drop. It's just little things like that you go, man, that's it. He's pushing through it. Nope, it's coming back. So I think he's hit a little bit of a wall, but luckily, you've had guys like Jeremy Bernard, career high Saturday in yards. They've been able to carry it a little bit more. And like I said, I think it's become a little bit more apparent that injury to Jalen Hale was bigger than we assumed it would be at the beginning.
Yeah, and the other part is they found the tight end. And that could be huge if Alabama gets in the playoffs. That seems like a cheat code right now when we utilize it effectively. And I would say that Ryan has 8 drops or 9 now, maybe 9. He's tied for the most in the SEC, and all of those have been probably the last 3 weeks. I mean, before, if you go back to the beginning of the season, he wasn't dropping the ball. So maybe the young man's pressing or whatever. He is 17. All right, Pat, you're in with Mark and Xavier on the Empowerment Strategy Solution Hotline on the Martin Houston Show, powered by Bob Cycler. What's up, Pat?
If I coulda, shoulda, woulda, had he caught that ball, it would have brought him over 100 yards for the game. Just like what I thought. But I mean, hey, didn't work out. But I know this: that was the worst officiating I've ever seen, and referees interjecting themselves into a game. I'm talking about that Alabama-Oregon basketball game. Good Lord. Hey, that was definitely a block. There's no doubt that was a block, and they called it goaltending, and that cost Alabama the basketball game, that one play, in my opinion. What do you think?
Agree.
I didn't get to watch it all the way through. I caught the end of the game, and that was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. I thought that was a clean block. Ended up being the difference in the game, those 2 points. But sometimes you gotta outplay the refs sometimes, and that's just unfortunately how it is in sports.
Yeah,
well, that game was in Vegas, and I think it was point shaving by the referees, in my opinion. I'm calling them out. But that's I'm just a bad loser, because I really thought that Alabama had a good basketball team, and obviously we can't play with a big man. They had against a big man. That big man for Oregon. Hey, man, he reminded me of Bill Walton. Good Lord.
Yeah, I'm not going to say we don't have a good basketball team, Pat, because to your point, it was a tie game there, and instead of us chasing points, we would have had the ball with a tie game. And it was clearly, once they slowed it down, full speed, I understand them calling it goaltend. In the review, it was really a bad call. Especially after how long they spent on it, and then they were just scared to make a different call, or I don't think it was point shaving, but anyway. But Alabama has to fix the turnover. Alabama has to fix the turnover. We're good, but you're not good enough to beat top teams with double-digit turnovers in the first half. That game would have been a blowout had we not turned the ball over. Yeah. Double digits in the first. I think it was like 8 or 9 times in the first half, something crazy. And they were not forced turnovers. It wasn't defense that forced the turnover. I have to get out of here.
Yeah, Martin, but hey, before I go, between Alabama basketball and Alabama football, we got more turnovers than a Mennonite bakery.
Do what now?
I said between Alabama football and Alabama basketball, we got more turnovers than a Mennonite bakery.
Oh, Pat, get out of here, man. That's a good one. All right, we're back on the other side. We'll add Kenneth into the conversation. We'll add Alan and Robert, get their thoughts as well.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, good morning to you and happy back to work Monday. Delays are extremely minimal right now, if any at all. Looking at Skyland Boulevard, and that's just the normal taps on the brakes in both directions between 2059 and McFarland. And speaking of McFarland, looking good.
What's a corn farmer's favorite dog? A husky.
Some things shouldn't be flat. But with GHX, you can maximize your acres with one flat price. While other brands sell by the bag, we sell seed by the acre to maximize your yield and profit potential. Our custom seed recommendations combine extensive product characterization and agronomic expertise to get the right product, population, and placement, all for one flat price per acre. Learn how at ghxseed.com/connect.
And it's always no work and all play at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casinos. So come on, leave it all behind and head to Pearl River Resort.
Got timberland in West Alabama or East Mississippi? North River Timber Company has you covered. Since 2011, Courtney White, a registered forester, along with his expert team, have been managing timberland and harvesting timber across 4 West Alabama counties. They offer comprehensive timber management plans, reforestation services, and appraisals. Courtney White says timber is like money in the bank. Don't let your investment...
Tuscaloosa customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Hey, I'm Martin Houston, and I want to tell you about exciting news happening at Box Eye Care. They've moved to their new location, bringing you a brand new lab, stylish new frames, and a fresh look just for you. Enjoy their expanded frame inventory, competitive prices, and faster service, all with the same great level of service you've come to know and trust. Discover this full-service eye care at Box Eye Care's new location. With their in-house lab, they offer unbeatable value and one of the largest frame collections in town. Schedule your eye exam today and walk out with new glasses in less than an hour in most cases. Visit boxeyecare.com. That's boxeyecare.com, or call 205-342-0660. That's 205-342-0660. Visit them at 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. That's Box Eye Care. Your vision, our priority.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. I want to tell you about empowerment strategies and solutions, education, equipping, and empowering company. We speak, we coach, we train. We love the opportunity to work with you as an aspiring leader or on an individual basis. We'd like to help you build a championship mindset, have a great program that includes, amongst several things, but it includes a playbook that will be created for you that helps you to have a professional personal development plan, including a DISC assessment, behavioral analysis, along with identifying your strengths, weaknesses, your communication style, and setting a game plan and playbook for you to move forward. So you can go to empowermentstrategy.com or martinhouston.org and click to find out more about empowerment strategies and solutions in education, empowerment, and equipping company. That's Empowerment Strategies and Solutions X.
All right. We have Kennington Smith III joining us here of The Athletic. How are you doing this morning, Kennington?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing good. We're going to get to a couple callers first, and then we'll get into the conversation about the game. We have Alan joining us. He wants to talk about the Iron Bowl and the Ohio State-Michigan game.
Good morning. First of all, somebody to call the fire department in Columbus, Ohio, because I honestly believe somebody's on the hot seat up there and it's burning up right now. All the money they paid on NIL and the coaches up there, somebody's hair's going to roll up there, and it may not be they may not even wait to the end of the season to get rid of them. What y'all think about that?
I think because he has the 12-team playoff and he could still salvage a national championship. He can save his job, but it's bad. Kennington.
Yeah, it is bad. And a head is going to roll on my surface. Ryan Days, and the most ironic part of all is like Ohio State has to pick themselves off the mat and play in the playoffs. It's like it feels like their season is over. It feels like the program is broken, and yet they can still turn it around in theory. Do I think they're going to do that? No, I don't. But that's the thing about this 12-team playoff era. It's like you can have these crippling losses and still have a chance to turn it around. But it's bad in Columbus, and Ryan Day is going to have a really, really rough week considering that they lost the game and Michigan has all of the recruiting momentum right now too.
Hey, let me ask you this, Kennington. Is that a bad thing though, that you can have a crippling loss like this, you can have a loss like Oklahoma and still possibly get in? Is that a bad thing, or is that just new for us as college fans?
Yeah, I think it's just new for college fans. Like, this is what the NFL is every single week, where you can, have a triumphant win next week and then lose to the Panthers or something like that the next week, and then still have a chance to make the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, all of those things. So when we talk about the parallels between college and the NFL game in terms of how much, they're making and they're all professionals and how it's starting to, the lines are starting to blur a little bit, I think that's just like another layer to it, is like everything doesn't hinge on one game and one result in college anymore like it has been in past years. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and we're going to circle back on this, but I hate college football in the aspect that the best team has always been determined by the best record. And that's not the case when they don't play each other. It just never has been the case. The only place, it's not just NFL. My high school team lost one game this year to a lower opponent, and now they're sitting at like 13-1. But they lost that game, and it was like, oh man. Well, guess what? They went back and they went on to win the rest of them, and that's what happens when college football. I think people just kind of have to get used to it, Kennington. I'll put a stat up that we'll get to later. The Kansas City Chiefs, in that sense of losing a game, they were 11-6 last year, which is a 64.7 winning percentage, Kennington. And they were the number one seed. Let that sink in. The number one seed for the AFC had a D grade winning percentage. If Alabama gets in, or Ole Miss or South Carolina gets in at 9-3, they are going to be at 75%, and that is a 75% winning percentage. And the 12th seed. So, I mean, there's 500 winning percentages that make it to the playoffs. The Giants beat the perfect, Patriots, and they were like 9-7 or 10-6. Yeah. And they were 10-6 because the Patriots didn't play. I mean, somebody didn't play them that last week. They were at 800, almost at 500 the week before. So, but anyway, Alan, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, one more little thing. My thing of this is, everybody was wanting, everybody looking at the Georgia Tech game in Georgia. They were wanting Georgia to lose. I mean, actually, I was pulling for Georgia. I may look at it the wrong way. I was pulling for Georgia because Alabama needs Georgia to win out because it looks better on Alabama's resume. Georgia starts losing, and Alabama quality of wins goes down. That's just my opinion. It's just like as we get right now, like if Georgia Tech would have won at the beginning of the year, if we only have 5 games this year, and Georgia Tech beats Florida State, I mean that quality of win goes up. But right now, if you Florida State play them right now, Georgia Tech will be a 20-point favorite. So am I right that we needed Georgia to win instead of Georgia Tech lose as far as quality of schedule?
Absolutely. It ain't got nothing to do with quality schedule. If Georgia loses, Georgia falls out of the top 12. We wanted everybody to move. We wanted if Georgia loses, people don't understand. I still don't think people understand, Kenneth, and how this thing works yet. If Georgia loses, they are now the 13th or 14th team, but still with a chance to get a spot in front of Alabama. The best thing that happened to Alabama that you hope happens tomorrow night is that Arizona State is in the top 12. Because what you don't want is a team outside of the top 12. The only thing that keeps Alabama out is Clemson.
Correct. That's
because they're not in the top 12 right now, but if they win, they're guaranteed a spot, and the team that they're playing may or may not fall out. And that's what would have happened if Georgia had lost, right, Kennington?
And that's what I missed. That's what I thought.
Right. Yeah, that's 100%. That's 100% correct. And to the point about the strength of schedule and the Georgia being his best win, if Georgia were to lose against Georgia Tech and let's say lose against Texas, all of a sudden your best win being a 4-loss Georgia team just doesn't hit the same in a debate. So Alabama was able to preserve that. Miami loss also helping Alabama. I mean, what's the committee going to do with them is going to be fascinating as well. So Alabama handled their business. They got what they needed in terms of upsetting. The doors open. So we'll see what happens, but at least there is a chance for Alabama to backdoor their way in, which, again, back to the original point about these crippling losses. When they lost to Oklahoma, the playoff was like, it was a foregone conclusion that Alabama was out. And now all of a sudden the door is open for them to make it. So you really just have no idea what's going to happen week to week in the sport, which I think is a good thing for, for viewing, popularity, and all of those things.
Okay. Thank y'all very much. Have a good day.
All right. It's a catch-22 with that whole situation. I thought maybe Georgia should have lost, but we can talk about that later. We got Robert.
I didn't say they should have won, but you didn't want Georgia to lose. If Georgia loses, man, they're behind us. And now they have Xavier, in this new era, man, you want teams in front of you that are in the playoffs. Because if the more conference champions that are behind you, your ranking is false. Okay? It's a false ranking. That's what people aren't getting. If Alabama is sitting at 11, technically they are 12 for sure. Because if Clemson wins, Clemson goes up and everybody slides down. Everybody. So if you're sitting at 12, the number 12 team, unless they are a conference champion, they are at risk this weekend. The number 11 team is at risk as well.
Fair enough. We've got Robert here on the Empowerment Strategy Solution Hotline. How you doing this morning, Rob?
Hey guys, you guys make great points. You're right, Martin. It's because the championship turns into a play-in game for these teams, and the committee will let them play in, as they should. This extra game should be a play-in game for anybody on the outside looking in. You're right. It should be a play-in game. Otherwise, why play these games? Right. So, and for the ones who are that's on the bubble, that SMU, we're not real sure about you. You win this championship, then all right, you get in. But if you lose, that resume stinks. You're out. So this is a fantastically exciting season. for college football. I mean, it's one of the most exciting seasons that you this late in the game. So many more teams and fan bases have reasons to pay attention and eyes on these games. College football, what took you so long? Goodness gracious. That's just like, duh. Yeah, we don't want to be like the NFL. And why not? Yeah, there are people that didn't want to be, but never gave you a good reason why you didn't want to be like the NFL. You mean exciting postseason games? You didn't want that? Yeah. You really showing us. It was ridiculous. And this nonsense about deserving to be in. I've heard that so much, especially when now Alabama's creeping up on everybody. Now all of a sudden you're hearing about deserving to be in. Alabama doesn't deserve to be in. Deserve. What in the heck? I like definitions and define parameters. That's my job. That's what I like in my life. Definitions and define parameters. Deserve is what? What do you mean by deserve? If there are rules, and there's a committee, and that committee's based on some, supposedly set rules, say this team is in. But guess what? That team deserves to be in there, regardless of what you think about it. They deserve to be in. Even when they were talking about the 12-team playoff, people would call Ryan's show and say who didn't want it. 13 teams don't deserve to be in, and blah blah blah. Who deserve? Wait, number one, who don't deserve based on your opinion? What does this mean? If they meet the criteria and they're in, guess what? They deserve to be there. So I did, but now it's really creeping in now because you hear a bunch of fan bases. Alabama doesn't deserve to be there. And like you all mentioned South Carolina, yes, so many folks are talking about 9-3 South Carolina should be in over 9-3 Alabama. That's the most, they beat one head to head, and South Carolina should be in over Alabama. But to their point, 9-3 South Carolina and 9-3 Alabama could easily get on win streak and take this whole thing. That's how it is right now.
That's why they're saying South Carolina should be in. They haven't lost since they played us.
And we've only lost once, but that's my point is college football. Robert, do you have anything else? Because we have to get a break.
Okay, now catch you guys later.
Yeah, hey, here's the thing, X. We have got to change our mindset, and Kim and I want you guys to respond to this on the other side. We have got to change our mindset that win streaks and winning alone, every year, the team with the best record, who has been the most dominant regular season team in the NFL? The Ravens.
Yeah, the Ravens.
The Ravens. Yeah, every year the Ravens is one of the top records every year. Period.
On a yearly basis, okay, yeah.
Every year they are. When was the Chiefs the best record? Of all of Patrick Mahomes' runs, when would they have been the number one using the college system? That's what I want people to understand. It's a different game, especially when they don't play each other. Every year there are teams with better records that don't get to go in because of their conference. And they didn't win their conference. Or someone else did in a wild card scenario. All I can tell you is I look at the AP top 18 teams, all the way down to Clemson. The only team in the top 18 that has zero chance to get in, zero, is BYU. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, good morning to you and happy back to work Monday. Delays are extremely minimal right now, if any at all. Looking at Skyland Boulevard, and that's just the normal taps on the brakes in both directions between 2059 and McFarland. And speaking of McFarland, looking.
Jesus was right. It is more blessed to give than receive. Wish the next person you see a very Merry Christmas from Taco Casa.
Dixie Battery Supply takes care of all of your battery needs. Find the commercial batteries you're after and never feel powerless again. Come check out our Northport and Tuscaloosa locations or call us at 205-758-9190. And once again, power up all your devices by using Dixie Battery Supply, DixieBatterySupply.com. They offer reconditioned batteries starting at $39.99, and you will find all the batteries you need. And don't forget to ask us about our golf carts. That's DixieBatterySupply.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today, the high 49. Another freeze tonight, clear with the low at 26. Tomorrow, sunny and cold, the high 44. Then for Wednesday, increasingly cloudy, a chance of light rain Wednesday night, the high Wednesday at 53. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 29 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Get your overall Alabama legacy gear, your holiday legacy gear, your Crimson Christmas legacy gear by going to athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston. Don't show up your Christmas party with no ugly sweater or sweatshirt or hoodie or cap. You can get great Bama gear at athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston. If you're watching the live stream, just scan the QR code. All right, guys, as I was pointing out really quick, X, and let you get back to getting the phones, but here's the big conversation really is going to be about South Carolina and Alabama. So I'd like to do comparisons. All right, overall record. South Carolina's overall record, opponent's record is 69-76. Alabama's is 76-68. Okay, so Alabama wins there. Then the last 6 games, the last 6 games, look at their record. South Carolina's opponents are 39-33. Alabama's opponents are 40-32. Guess what the difference is? The Oklahoma loss. That's the difference. So almost a wash there. South Carolina's opponents, 3-3. The last 6 games. But here's the point. Here's the point. When it's that close, what do you have to come back to?
Head to head.
All right, there we go. I mean, you look at when the records are that close, you have to come back to head to head. X, take it away.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting conversation. We're ranked ahead of them at AP coaches poll, so I think that bodes well for us when it comes tomorrow night and the college football playoff rankings coming out. So there's that added benefit to that. Kenton, we hadn't talked much about the game yet. Just kind of want to get your opinions on what you saw Saturday and some of your takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 2024 Alabama football game. In a lot of ways, both of the teams kind of played their parts of who they are this season. Alabama had moments of brilliance. They had head-scratching moments. Ultimately, their talent prevailed. That's pretty much been the case of this team all year. Auburn, on paper, played a really good game. They had 25 first downs. They forced 4 turnovers, but they were really bad situationally, and they lost the game because of it. So they were who they were, both teams. And Alabama, it was an expected result, in my opinion, a double-digit win. And we'll see what happens the rest of the way. But I think at least fans in the program can feel at peace knowing that they did not lose to Auburn, and they kind of stopped a little bit of their momentum, because had Auburn won this game with the recruiting momentum that they had, they really could have gone out and sold the fact that Alabama was not the same and they were going to turn the corner in this rivalry and all of these things. And now those messages kind of fall on deaf ears when Alabama dominates them once again. So kind of expected. It was a Alabama game I feel like we've seen a million times this year. And, ultimately, it could lead to them getting into the playoffs, which is the most, which is the funniest part of all.
Yeah. Kenton, I know you haven't been around the Alabama program much, but when I was a preteen through my early teen year, or up until my senior year of high school, I was in 5th grade. I saw Alabama win in Auburn. Then I never saw Alabama win in Tuscaloosa until I was a senior, until I was a senior in high school again. And I remember they had the fear of the thumb, fear of the other hand. And it is so sweet, because even with Coach Saban, I wasn't sure if we were ever going to get to 5 in a row with we beat them twice, they'd win. We beat them 3 times, they win. It was a lot of emotions there for a while, but we finally got the fear of the thumb against Auburn. Let's see if we can go for the other hand next year so that we finally have a 6-game win streak in my lifetime. But we've got Ellis on the phone line. How you doing this morning, Ellis?
That's fine. Fear of the thumb. That's right. Fear of the thumb. I'm just now getting my voice back. The guy that sat beside me is a good friend of mine. Me and him both got a headache from yelling so much. I mean, we literally got a headache, and that's never happened, but the headache finally went away, but voice is still kind of iffy. But I just want to, first and foremost, I want to thank our team and all of our coaches for winning that game Saturday night. It wasn't pretty. We had turnovers, but thank you. From all of us fans that truly behind you all the way. I hope we do get in the playoffs. But I've heard that if Georgia loses, they can still get in over Alabama because they went to the championship game. Is that right?
Yeah, it's pretty much a lock.
Just don't seem right because we beat them heads up.
Yeah, so they get punished because they had to play one more game?
This don't seem right. I think we need more.
They got more wins than us, though, Ellis. They're 10-2. They're 10-2 right now. We're 9-3. How you gonna punish them because they had to play one more game? Even though they'll have the same number of losses with one more win. How can you punish your team? This was the whole thing that Alabama fans were saying. Well, a lot of Alabama fans called in on this show and they got their wish. Alabama's not playing Saturday.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to go there. I'm the one that wanted to go there.
I know you're one of them, but we had a lot of fans call up here and tell us, I don't want to go to Atlanta. Well, guess what? Now we're not.
Yeah, we're not. But, it's just, that's what my point is. I know, they went there and played an extra game and all, but it's just, we beat them heads up, but it is what it is. But I'm happy with the season. What did he tie Frank Thomas?
Frank. Yep.
That's I would think, so hey, I'm tickled with that. And Martin, I know you got to be happy about Robbie Oots.
I'm happy for Oots and glad he's doing well, doing some fullback things. They need to let him run it once. I love to see him get die.
But you ought to heard when he caught the ball them 2 times there Saturday night. I mean, you could hear it all the way through the whole crowd hollering his name out. So
you can hear it on television. Thanks, Al.
Yeah. All right,
Roll Tide. Kennedy, your thoughts, it's funny. It's funny how the committee almost has backed themselves into a corner, Kennington, with that. It's because I said the same thing, and then last week I told everybody I was being a hypocrite because I was saying just because you play in a tournament, you shouldn't be punished. And the committee seemed to have almost indicated that. And of course, if you watch the Georgia game, Tessitore and that crew made it sound like Georgia was a lock as well. But here's the reality of that. It can't hold water now because Arizona's in the top 12, Boise's in the top 12, and they both have to play each other. I mean, they both have to play a championship game, and SMU is in the top 12, okay? So there's 3 champions in the top 12 right now. 3 teams in the top 12. If all 3 of them lose, they would lose to Iowa State, Clemson, and who does Boise play?
UNLV.
UNLV? Huh?
Yeah, UNLV.
So the only team in the top 19, I said 18, is BYU. But if those 3 teams win, who they kicking out?
Yeah.
If the 3 underdogs win, there's going to have to be at least somebody. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So they can't honor that thought process, Xavier. Even though I said the same thing, They can't honor that process if chaos happens. Yeah. If all of those teams lose, you now have 15 teams vying for 12 spots. And 3 of those teams would have legit spots over teams that's already ranked in the top. Kennington, what they gonna do?
The committee. Here's the thing about the committee: they're gonna do whatever they want to do. Like, I think after what we've seen them ranking week by week this year, what they did to Florida State last year, what they did to Georgia last year, these people claim that they have rules and they have a code and they have guidelines, but they're really just in their vibe and doing whatever they want. So you just have to hope that they wake up that day and you are in the right part of their minds, or like you woke up on the right side of the bed of their minds, because it's a crapshoot, honestly. Like, we'll just have to see. Like, I'm so fascinated by what the rankings are going to be tomorrow, because I just have to see what their thought process is on Miami and Alabama and all these other things. And to X's point earlier about Bama playing the SEC championship, let this be a lesson to everybody out there. When it comes to the playoffs, you want to control your own destiny. You do not want to leave your fate in the committee's hands. So if you have the opportunity to go to a conference championship and win your way in, you do that. You do not want to be sitting idle by hoping that the committee, taps you on the head and picks you into the playoffs, because literally anything can happen. They've shown this for multiple years now. So you want to control your own destiny no matter what, should be the thinking from here on out.
You don't want to be a bubble team going into the tournament finals.
No,
not at all.
No, we see.
Worst case, you want to be in Ohio State at 10-2, but ranked high enough.
Right.
And that's only because the other teams fell apart. In a typical year, Alabama's 10-2, and start looking. There's several teams that would have totally changed this whole mindset. So you don't even want to be just ranked high. Let's say that the rankings really don't matter, man. I'm telling you, it's crazy, because you could be sitting as high as 7 and get bumped down. and who knows, man? Who knows what they're gonna do? So let's get the break real quick, and we'll have the Harvest Church 2-minute warning on the other side.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we'll do the Daniel Moore good moments of the game. Alabama and Auburn. Hopefully we're recapping a victory for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll start at 2 p.m. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll talk to Barrett Sallee. And we'll talk to Martin Houston right here on The Game, Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. I'm seeing a little more volume picking up on Skyland Boulevard at the McFarland intersection. Also moving on 2059, and that's in that southeast direction at Joe Malisham. We got some road construction there, and that'll slow you down just.
Vacation or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. They've been doing it the right way each and every day for 50 years and counting. If you're looking for a great option for lunch and or dinner, then you need to check out Taco Casa. Taco Casa, and while you're there, don't forget to get a big glass of that sweet tea.
Located across from Sokol Park, the venue houses Finney's Pub, the second location of Rammer Jammers, and Liza's
Sweet Shop. Visit VenueTuscaloosa.com to learn more.
Visit the pharmacy at Midtown. That's the pharmacy at Midtown.com. TJ and his team are looking for the opportunity to provide you with great services, including compounding, home delivery, and a whole lot more. You're looking for a great pharmacy that'll take care of all of your needs, including wellness classes, including health, and more. That's the pharmacy at Midtown. Call them at 205-579-9933. If you're looking for a great pharmacy, you need to try the pharmacy at Midtown. That's the pharmacy at Midtown, pharmacy at Midtown.com.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Martin and Xavier. We have the Harvey Church 2-minute warning. We have Kennington Smith of The Athletic with us. Kennington, got two questions for you. One, to wrap up the conversation about the Alabama-Auburn game, the fight that took place, what were your thoughts on that and how the refs probably could have handled that better?
Yeah, I mean, obviously – some sort of flag on the Auburn side. Malachi Moore was basically going like 20v1 on the sideline, but just like, typical rivalry chippiness, like honestly, the fact that the Iron Bowl didn't rise to the same level of fight as like Michigan, Ohio State, and some of the other things that we saw might be a little bit surprising in hindsight, but glad everybody was able to keep it under control to a degree, but definitely should have flagged Auburn as well as Alabama on that play.
And I'll say really quick, Bama's response after Auburn not being flagged was probably a sign of this team is more disciplined than people think.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But and then when we're looking at this Alabama-South Carolina conversation, does Alabama having beat USC prove that South Carolina is a good team, or that South Carolina's the better team?
I mean, I feel like South Carolina and Alabama is like an interesting conversation because it's like you probably would not like to play South Carolina more at this point. They're probably like the hotter team, but Alabama in every metric is the better team. So I guess you got to give the nod to Alabama. But like I was saying earlier, the playoff committee is so fickle. We really have no idea what these people are thinking. So the idea of South Carolina jumping Alabama and Ole Miss somehow being left out of this conversation is, kind of interesting too. So I would still expect South Carolina to be ranked behind Alabama, but anything can happen.
Yeah, because when we're looking at South Carolina is 1-2 against LSU, Ole Miss, and Bama. Bama is 3-1 against Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, and Missouri. So that just shows you the level of the schedule that they've played.
Yeah.
Real quick, Kennington, what you got? Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
No, we're closing it out. You share real quick.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama, I feel like, has the strongest case of any of these teams that are on the bubble. They've played the toughest schedule. They have the most quality wins. That should be the intersection of what the committee feels like is a deserving playoff team, but we'll see what happens on Tuesday.
Yeah, and I think we as fans is going to have to learn what worthy means, and it doesn't necessarily equate just to records. It's looking inside that, since they don't all play each other and overlap. So tell them real quick where they can find you, Kennington.
Yeah, on X at skinny_theathletic.com or The Athletic on your mobile app, searching my name, Kennington Smith, or Alabama Athletics.
All right, hey, we'll be back tomorrow saying more conversation around the Iron Bowl. We'll add DC Capstone Report to the conversation. We'll keep you in tune as well. Thanks to all the callers and viewers and chatters for being part of the program. I'm Martin Houston. That's Xavier Houston. That's Kennington Smith III. And Chase Bromfield pressing all the right buttons. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Stay tuned tomorrow. I will eventually address the fight situation. Roll Tide, everybody.